Hey, this is Jared, and today we're going through another daily devotional. This time, we're going to give you some encouragement for your finals week, college kids. Let's get to it. All right, this one's a winner. We're geared up, ready to go. So, hey, this is Jared, and this daily devotional that we do, it's Tuesday, and I know that if you are in college, if you're in high school, that you might be either in the middle of finals week, college kids, or preparing for finals, high school kids. And so I just wanted to give the students out there, because I know a couple of you are watching, and I just wanted to give you some encouragement as you finish the school year strong. And so we're going to be looking at a passage out of John 21, and we're going to be talking about how it is that we should toil and what it means to truly go after the work that we do with Christ in mind and Jesus in mind. And so let's take a look at that right now. So here in John chapter 21, just to preface it a little bit, John 21, I'm looking at this section where it looks like Jesus has been crucified. We've already gone through the crucifixion, the death, the burial, and of course now we're into the resurrection. And so here in John chapter 21, the disciples have already been dispersed and they've gone back to their ordinary lives. And so of course we see this scene here in John chapter 21 where he reveals himself to Simon Peter and his brothers. So he goes to them in his resurrected body, and he finds them fishing. And of course they're not catching anything. But here we come to verse 6, and it says, after he comes to them and they haven't been catching anything, he says to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because of the quantity of fish. This is the word of God for the people of God. So here in, as I already said, this chapter is so interesting because he reveals himself to Peter and those who are in the boat with him, and he calls out to them, "Hey, you know what you should do? I know you're not catching anything right now. Try the other side," as if they hadn't already done that like 100 times, right, that day. I'm sure they had. And of course, this is a sign to them, because then in the next verse, the disciple whom Jesus loved therefore said, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he was stripped for work, and threw himself into the sea. And the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the full net of fish, for they were not far from land, but about 100 yards off. So what happens is the disciples that are in the boat, presumably, and of course Peter, so they're all hanging out. They're trying to catch some fish. They're not having any luck. But of course, Jesus comes on the scene and says, "Hey, why don't you try this one thing?" And it was this sign that said to them, that clicked it in their brains, "Yes, this is the Lord, and I'm going to go. And I'm not going to wait." In the case of Peter, I'm not waiting for the boat to get to shore. I'm not hauling this net in. I got to go now. And so he jumps out into the sea and runs to Jesus. But notice what's going on in this chapter in verse 6, which is the verse that I alluded to. They're not having any ability or any luck catching the fish, right? Until Jesus gives them or shows the sign, the miracle, the sign that it is the Lord. He says, "Cast your nets on the other side," and then all of a sudden it clicked, right? Not only did they catch fish by doing what Jesus said, all of a sudden, as if out of nowhere, miraculously, right? But also they had so much that they couldn't contain. The nets, other scriptures in other accounts say the nets were bursting, right? They couldn't contain the amount of fish. And this has happened before. And so what's going on here is much like our toil, our work, our studying, if you're a student especially. So maybe you're in the middle of finals week, and you are, imagine yourself, if you went through finals, you remember yourself as a college kid, a high school kid, grade school kid, or if you're in the middle of this right now, but you're looking at the material for school, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I just can't get it. I'm looking at the words, I'm looking at the pages, and it's just mush, and I can't remember, and I can't retain. But you keep at it, right? Because there will come a time when it miraculously clicks, when something happens and the toil for your work is rewarded. And that's what we see here in John 21, verse 6. That although we are called to work, to toil, what they call the thorns, the branches, right, that we talk about in Genesis 1, that happens when the pains, the sweat of the brow, there is toil in work, there is sweat and tears. If you're in the middle of finals week, you know all about the sweat and the tears. Sometimes when we're in the middle of it, when they're in the middle of fishing, when we're in the middle of studying, when we're in the middle of working, it seems like I'm not getting anywhere. I'm spinning my wheels here. I'm casting my net out without any returns, and there's never gonna be a return. But we know that's not true. We know there are promises in this book. If you just open them, if you just read the promises that are here, that are for you and for your good, that there will be returns on your hard work, on your good work, as long as you stay faithful to the Lord. And so that's what happened here. As soon as their faithfulness to the Lord, as soon as they heard the Lord's voice and acted in accordance to His will, their nets were full to bursting. And so that is my prayer over you as you prepare, especially you students, but this extends to you who are in the workforce now as well. But as you prepare for the end of this year and for finals and for your end of year testing and for STAR and for UIL perhaps, if you're going through any of these things and you feel like you're just spinning your wheels, you're just casting your net without any results, know that there is a right side, that if you continue on your path, that I am sure that God is faithful to fulfill His promises, that at some point this will click, this will mean something, and there will be a return for your hard work. So go with this promise and go with this benediction that you will be fulfilled, that there is a point to your work, and that there is another side to this. There is a right side of the boat to cast your net. If you'll just continue to seek after God and hear His voice, go in peace.